Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Mindful Messages channel. Today, we've got a very special guest all the way from South Africa. So, I'm not going to speak too much because I want him to take the way. I want him to share every kind of experience that he's gone through because when I met with him last week, it was very, very inspirational. So, Ryan, please take it away and introduce yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to start something new, hopefully, with you guys. A little bit about me. I am a therapist who specializes in addiction, eating disorders, and dual diagnosis. That's the field in the private sector that I've been working in for the past 12 years. It is my passion, although as I've mentioned previously, in the sector that we work in, I have worked with all kinds of situations. So I'm also passionate about relationships, about conflict, about self-esteem, depression, anxiety. Most of the clients that have come across our paths over the years have had a number of things. So I've had exposure in addressing many different things.
Okay, and what made you like obviously it's a very heavy niche, right? Addictions and depression and everything. It takes a toll on anybody. Why did you even choose to go down that path?
So in where I come from, addiction, not only in my immediate family, but also in my community, is something, and mental health in general is something that is still not spoken about. It's something that people struggle with all the time and access to um, don't have access to the proper help. And I've had my own struggles with mental health as a younger person, and finding I found myself to be lucky in that I was able to access help, and I went. Something kind of sparked in me, and I was like, "Well, everybody needs to have this opportunity."
Hmm.
Um, and people used to kind of say, "Oh, you've come from such a dark place, and and kind of compliment me in that, and I've always had an issue with that because I've thought to myself, there's nothing particularly that great or special. There are lots more of me, but they won't have the opportunity. You'll never see them. You'll see them, on the corners or whatever, and you'll ignore them. And those people also have the potential to make something good of their life. And so that's my life's mission, is to make that possible, um,
You sound
for
like a bit of a
everybody.
silent hero, I'm not gonna lie. For sure. If you're saying that you've gone through the struggles and everything, then that you're out here just trying to improve your community, especially if you've had that kind of familial background with addictions and kind of struggles and stuff. It sounds like you're just trying to make that change. And I think that's going to spark so many more minds to do that. And I think that's how you break cycles as well.
Yes.
Just for context, could you tell everybody like where you're based? Because
Okay.
you said good afternoon and I said good morning, and they're probably thinking, why they said two different things.
Okay, so at the moment, I'm in the coastal town of Plettenberg Bay. Um, yeah, I was bragging earlier on that I was 5 minutes from the beach, not even 5 minutes, in South Africa. Yeah, so this is where I was born. I was born in Cape Town, um, and this is where I currently practice. In between, I have worked in other places. I've worked in the Seychelles for a little bit, for the government there. I've worked in Thailand for a little bit at a private center there, and then I've also worked in a number of cities in South Africa. So I've moved around, but this is kind of where we're settling at the moment.
And because you've moved around so much, so you've visited different places and you've kind of spoken to so many people from different cultures, have you noticed any cultural or language barriers personally or professionally?
Yes, yes. I think being culturally sensitive is super important to me. Mainly because, partly because of some of the struggles we've had as a country over here,
Mhm.
um, and that I know from my experience that it's not enough to be uh, skilled as a therapist without being sensitive to the nuances and in people's culture and traditions and how that kind of informs their behavior as well. So I've worked with probably the people that I've worked with the most are from your country, from the UK, Belgium, Holland, Australia, and obviously, like I said, the Seychelles and some Asian countries. Um, Funny enough, the people that I've probably worked with the least are people from Africa, and that in itself is something that I'm also passionate about, trying to change that. So
It's hard to believe
yeah,
there's going to be any mental health issues in the Seychelles because everything looks so peaceful. Genuinely, I'm just
it is very peaceful.
thinking. And Ryan, let's dive into how you work. So, for example, kind of, I know that you do a bit of group therapy, and you you do one-to-ones as well. So, how do you kind of work? What's the best way, or what do you find that you enjoy the most? Do you enjoy group therapy more? Do you enjoy one-to-one therapy? Do you enjoy kind of teaching about mental health?
Yeah, I mean, when starting off, now quite a while ago, I was very kind of passionate and into. I don't overuse the word passion, but very into kind of individual therapy and getting kind of in the room with somebody and having that hour family work as well. Um,
Mhm.
because we know that with addiction in particular, it has such a widespread impact, and the family system becomes part of the problem in a sense. So yeah, and then I started learning about group therapy and kind of interpersonal um, issues and how we can use relationships with each other to learn about ourselves, how we reflect, how we mirror each other, how we project on each other, and then that really became my thing, and they couldn't keep me out of the group room, and I started to explore little techniques and things. So that's kind of a space where I'm the most alive, I would say, is in the
Love that.
group therapy space. But the more that I have, moved on in the field, the more kind of I've been interested in teaching and doing things on a bigger scale, educating people about mental health, and trying to still make changes, but not only with individual. I want to change kind of more than that in terms of society and how we view people and how we view mental health, as yeah as society.
Yeah. And for example, what I want to kind of ask you is, I'm going to try and word the question better, is how you've explained that the relationships that you have with your family or the interrelationships can really affect that person's recovery, either with addictions or depression. Kind of, it's kind of that support system, right? What advice would you give to somebody that doesn't have any of that?
It doesn't have any kind of family support.
Yeah, family
Yeah.
support, kind of a support system to help with their recovery.
What I found, and it's a sad thing, and it does exist. There are people who after treatment go home to just support and love and care, and there are people who don't. Um, but what I have found is that there are many communities out there of people who are, and it's becoming more prevalent and even more niche in terms of people struggling with very specific things who are, in the earlier days, I also found a community that I belong to. And that sense of belonging and that
Mhm.
we culture is so important. And I even in the Seychelles, which, as we mentioned, is a kind of remote island in the middle of nowhere. It's very difficult it'll be very hard not to find communities that exist for addiction recovery, depression. There are all kinds of support groups, kind of cropping up everywhere in the world
Mhm.
at the moment.
Okay, so it's just about basically finding that support group and finding that sense of belonging and kind of going out there, I suppose. My last question for you, Ryan, after we finish our conversation, is a question from a different counselor. And it is, where is your favorite place that you visited and why?
My favorite place that I've visited, um, oh, I suppose it will have to be it would have to be the Seychelles, because when we stayed there, we stayed kind of on the beach. I suppose everywhere is on the beach there, really.
Mhm.
Um, the water's clear. Um, you can see the fish while you're swimming. I mean, it's just beautiful. So that's probably my favorite place.
I love that. Sounds like paradise on earth, that is. Ryan, thank you so much from all the way from South Africa and having a conversation with me and joining a mindful message. And I really hope to, continue the great work together.
Thank you, Jazz. Thanks for having
Thank
me. I look
thank
forward to
you.
it as well. All right. Bye bye.
Thank, bye.